excited. No, you know what? The funny, so Jeff, I want to first thank you for coming on to the podcast. I'm going to tell you one thing. About 5 or 6 of the guests that we've had on so far, and we always give them a chance at the end to say, hey, do you anybody you want to shout out to, you want to thank or whatever. And 5 of these individuals have not said a bad thing about you. They've always just, Jeff Santos is the amazing person, Fighters Market, thank you so much, blah, 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 blah. It's amazing. So I'm like, we got to get Jeff on here because I need to
because like all the geese he's giving people and all that sponsorship money. I think you signed Janine for what, like a 10-year, $50 million contract, something along those lines. LeBron James level money that you are throwing at people to wear that brand.
Yeah, wow. Well, that's amazing, man. Well, listen, I want to thank you guys. It's an honor to be on it. You know what I mean? To be a part of this. To be a part of our Canadian community is the key for me. Like, I love jiu-jitsu, and to be a part of it, and you guys allow me to be a part of your podcast it's an honor.
Absolutely. So, like, I know we were kind of briefly talking before everything started, but like, how you been doing during this whole lockdown? Obviously, the stores shut. No, you guys are still open. You guys can keep going, but how have things been going otherwise?
Well, the store physically is not open, like in the sense where to the public, right? So when this all went down back in March, and the ministry basically telling everybody to shut down, we shut our doors. So we locked it up. We have signs outside, basically saying that, you know, to the public it's closed, but online service is still on. So we haven't stopped the actual business. Myself and my wife are ones at the branch, so we're safe in that sense. So we just continue doing business as usual, but through online. But obviously with the sales, things have dropped, you know what I mean? And considering what everything's going on, it's normal. But we're staying positive, you know what I mean? This is not going to last forever. You know, but people are still continually trying to support as best as possible, considering, you know, what we're all going through, you know, physically, mentally, financially, all of that, right? So.
Mike, are you good now? Are you going to make enough noise? Or are you good?
I'm alive. Everything's well.
Okay. All right. You got your screen set up?
Everything's good. Screen is set.
See, I'm glad I don't do these live anymore because I can always just edit now.
I think we'll leave that in. I think we'll make a blooper one day of just all the dumb shit that's just happened, like during a podcast. Like Aaron, like leaving his laundry like on the ground in like the middle of an episode. There's just like a big stack of laundry.
Oh my goodness.
I had laundry. I'm in a corner of my basement. That's it, right? So I had laundry up on the floor. Well, this is my makeshift studio. I make it work.
It's where the magic happens, baby. It's where the magic happens.
That's it, man. No, but obviously, like, how did you get involved in even starting Fighters Market, especially here in Canada? Like, how did that story even come to play?
So I was introduced to Bruno Mandaruca, which is the founder and owner of Fighters Market, right? Through Tony Isaacs. So I brought a bunch of the boys to Portugal. We have a family condo there, and it's about 45-minute drive from the venue. And I ended up meeting Bruno there at the venue. He required assistance. He didn't have enough staff, so I volunteered to help him that week, the whole week. And we just started talking. And then essentially from there, just every year I would go to Europe, and then he would invite me to the Worlds, to like the bigger tournaments. So Europe, Worlds, and Pans. He would invite me to come over and assist him with those. And then about 2 years, about 2.5 years ago, we discussed about, you know, why don't we do like a Fighters Market in Canada type of thing. And then, you know, he thought about it, and we went back and forth on it, and essentially came down, and here we are. We agreed on it. Tony originally was a part of it, and then you know, with Tony's schedule, he couldn't really stay with us type of thing, with work and dealing with the OJA and the Canadian Jiu Jitsu Association as well. So I kind of just took it on myself with my wife, and we went partners with Bruno, just for the Canada division though. Like he's still the owner, like for US and all that, and he's got partnership with me in Canada.
What got you initially started? Like, did you have like a logistics background or like a shipping background? Like, what did you do before Fighters Market came to you?
So I started my career in automotive. So started as an automotive technician, and then from automotive I went to the forklift industry, and I became a forklift mechanic, servicing like high-level corporate accounts like IBM and the Costco's, stuff like that. So I dealt with people a lot throughout my life. I've always been a people's person, services like that. And then about 5 years ago, I became a manager at one of the branches. So that actually helped me a lot in the sense of Fighters Market. It gave me that knowledge on how to run a business and, the avenues that I need to go. So that helped me a bit. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so so running Fighters Market, but you got yourself involved in martial arts before that, right? So
yeah,
was it
years ago? So 8 years ago, I originally started with judo, and then I was at Judoka Martial Arts. Mike knows about it. And
yep, I think that's where we met.
Yeah, that's where we originally met. Yeah.
Okay.
You came down. You did some classes with us there with Tony and what have you. And then, so we're affiliation to Gracie Humata at the time. And about 6 months into my judo, that's when I started doing jiu-jitsu as well. And then I started doing judo and jiu-jitsu. About 5 years into that, I had to stop doing judo because of a knee injury. And then I ended up having two knee injuries on the same knee. So I kind of stopped the judo, but continued with the jiu-jitsu. So it's about 8 years now in jiu-jitsu.
Very nice. Excellent. And so now you're training with Gringos up in Pickering, and obviously teaching there as well.
Yeah. So I'm with Gringos, Action Reaction. I try and do as much training as I can in the North York location because that's where all the killers are, what have you. I do train in Pickering a little bit as well, but I do teach in Pickering. Yeah. So I teach the 2 kids classes on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
Okay. Can you explain to like some of the viewers here, like how did you end up at Action Reaction initially? Like how'd you find them, and like how did you make that your home?
So after Judoka, I went to Mammoth for about a year. I was training there for a year and helping them with teaching as well. But Antonio had an injury, so we kind of pulled him out. He got a concussion, and then I pulled him out for about a year, and then I ended up talking to Fernando because it was just easier for me to go there right after work. So I ended up going there and started training, and he knew I was teaching from day one when I started the martial arts. So he asked me if I wanted to teach as well, and I said, yeah, of course. I love teaching. I love volunteering and assisting with the kids and stuff like that.
So how do you keep yourself injury-free training with all those monsters then?
Guard, my friend. Lots of guard pulling now. There's not a lot of judo anymore. I do a lot of guard pulling and just keep them with my legs. Yeah, but it's the training there, especially like now that he's brought in all of these Brazilians that come and go every 6 months. The training there is just developed so much. Like it's done a lot, at least for me. I would assume it's done for everybody else too.
Yeah, we're actually gonna have Fernando on a future podcast that we're gonna record in a few days. We're gonna ask him a lot about that as well, and his evolution of his gym as well, because that's a gym I visited a lot as well, and I've seen like it's not like night and day, like the evolution of it and how it's grown to be, in my opinion, one of the top gyms in Canada.
No, for sure, I would think so too.
Earthquake? Is there an earthquake going on? What's going on?
I was moving the pillow.
Oh, there we go. So obviously, kind of like as you were saying, like you're working out with Gringos now. There's so many different types of talent coming through, and you're still an active competitor as well.
Yes.
So how have you kind of like, obviously the balance of a business and training constantly and teaching, making sure you're still being able to be, how are you balancing all your plates right now?
It's definitely challenging, but I've managed to do it. I've always been active, even outside of jiu-jitsu. I've always been a very active person in general. So I've always had the good balancing in that sense. Even when I was working as a mechanic. Did a lot of after hours too, but I just balance. It's just good balancing. Like I do the hours that I need to for Fighters Market, then I go and train and just try. I don't train as much as I used to. Like before, I used to train 7 days a week. Now I kind of don't. So as we're getting older, I lost a lot of time with my own kids. So basically now the days I teach, I try and train. So I'll go train in the morning in North York, and then I'll teach in the evening, and I might do an evening class, and then the following Tuesday, the next day, it's break time. I use that time with the family, and just so it's one on, one off, one on, one off.
Well, I wanted to ask you as well, kind of tying into that, being older, being an older active competitor, what are some advice that you would give to people that are, on maybe the wrong side of 40 or 30, that like me and Aaron? What would you tell them? Like, how would you structure your training, or or what advice would you give them?
Definitely, like I found for myself now that I'm doing a one on and one off, it's been a huge success for me in the sense of my recovery, my cardio, all of that. So I still try and train as much as I can with the younger lads, the 20-year-olds and stuff like that, just so I get that good drive. But having that day off, and if you choose not to have the day off, like there's times where I'll go like probably 5 days straight, but the day that I'm usually off, if I do go and train, it's more drilling. Like I don't do any form of rolling. I might do some form of exercise of lifting, but it's generally just light stuff just so my body can recover. And eating healthy too, right? Like you need to maintain all of that. Like as we get older, we got to eat healthier. Even when you train, be smart. When you're training with the killers, you got to be smart about it too, right? Choose your partners wise.
Have you had a chance to kind of like train at all during the time, like with whether it's with a body or on your own, like maintaining strength?
Yeah, so I try to train with my son, but he's just not into it anymore. He's 16, right? He's that teenager stage.
Yeah.
He might be into other things.
Yeah, he's going through.
If you know what I'm saying.
Years. But I made an agreement with one of my training partners. We're not going to mention any names like that, but we made an agreement because he's isolated himself from basically the world as well. He works from home. He doesn't go into the office. He doesn't basically leave his house unless he has to. So it's sort of the same deal as us. So what we do is we'll train here at my house because I have a dojo in the basement, 12 by 16, and I also have tatami mats outside in the backyard that we train as well. So if it's a nice sunny day, we'll train in the backyard. We'll train for about an hour and a half and sometimes 2 hours. We try and do that twice a week. We're hoping next week we can probably move it up to 3 times a week. But we only started doing this, I'd say about a month ago. Like the first 2 months, it was basically isolation from everybody until we really know what's going on in society, right? Because no one really knew what this was about and what was going to happen.
Yeah, I think you're right. There was a lot of like that initial fear. Like I told my story on here. Like I was on vacation. Like I was in Costa Rica, and like I'm just looking at like the world has been like, I'm like, what's going on? Like, is the world ending? Like I go away for a week, and Aaron just fucks up everything. Way to go, Aaron.
No, it's a quite known fact that whenever Michael goes away on vacation, something happens in the world.
So it's actually a running gag. So like I went to Cuba, and I almost got stuck in a Category 5 hurricane there.
Oh my God.
I think so. There was that, and there was another one. Oh, I was supposed to go to Hawaii 2 years ago, and then the history of Hawaii, there's been like 3 like absolutely catastrophic like hurricanes. Like they don't happen in the Pacific Ocean. It's more like in the Caribbean, like Atlantic side. It's usually there. And they got hit by like a Category 5 hurricane like the same day that we were supposed to be flying in there. So we ended up canceling our trip. We didn't get stuck there, but we ended up, I think, going somewhere else instead. But it seems like I'm bad luck whenever I'll let everybody know next time I go travel somewhere. So like the world doesn't end, or like you can like build a bunker in your basement in case like, apocalypse happens. You can gather, weapons, whatever you need.
It sounds like we should just lock you in your basement and not let you leave.
That's pretty much what I've been doing the last couple months. I haven't really been out much either. Because like the first 2 months, like I got back, I'm like, what's going on? I go through the airport, it's normal, but then like there's no cars on the road. I'm like, everybody's like secluded at their house. They don't know what's going on. But hopefully, I think everything's starting to open up. Like what I understand, I think Action Reaction, I think, is starting to open up in Pickering as well, and I think a lot of other gyms are opening up as well. Have you been out there recently? Like, how's everything out on the east
we
end?
opened up Monday. Basically, we have like a catalog about this big. Like we have all the ministry guidelines, the OJA guidelines, the health guidelines. We have like a lot of guidelines that we're following. Our tatami mats are marked in locations. We have basically like just alleyways between the marked locations that if you're in the far end, you got to go down this lane only. You can't cross to the other lane. So everybody's basically isolated in that sense. But yeah, we started on Monday. I taught Monday, Wednesday. I'm going to be teaching this Friday. But yeah, it wasn't a lot of people, which we knew, you know what I mean? Like this is the touch go situation now, like people's comfort zone. But the second class was okay. We had half a dozen kids, you know what I mean? So we'll see. It's going to take a couple weeks.
I think it's just getting back to like where everything was at. I think it's still going to take a little bit of time. One thing I actually wanted to ask you, so there's a lot of younger, hungry people out there that want to be world champions. You probably get maybe, I don't know, 700 messages a day. Hey man, can you sponsor me? Hey man, I'm trying to go to Worlds. Can you give me some money? I'll shout you out on the Instagram.
Yeah.
I want to ask you from a business owner's standpoint, what advice, partly I think this is probably a two-part question. Advice that you would give younger up-and-coming, I guess you could say, talent on how to get sponsorships. And then from a business standpoint, what you're looking for and when you're looking to sponsor somebody.
Yeah, so there's a lot of it. I actually have like a file that I haven't put it on the website. I was going to put it on it to give you like guidelines on how to, become a sponsored athlete, not just for us in general, but in the general aspect of it. But, there's a lot of little key areas. International competing is huge. So, and a lot of brands, and especially for us, we recognize the IBJJF, right? Just like most people. So, if you're not competing internationally, it's a little bit more difficult to get that sponsorship. You might be smashing the scene locally, which is great because we want that too, but internationally, we want to see that level of competition as well, right? And then it has to do with followers, right? There's you want to have a certain amount of followers just to begin with. So what I've done, like for us, I've made tiers. So for us to sponsor, we have like just a regular ambassador, which is just like a verbal agreement, and then we have a sponsored ambassador, and then we have tier 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 5 being like the Marcus Buchecha and the Leandro Lowe's type of thing, which we're not there as far as Canada goes. Like for me, financially, I'm not even there to do such a thing, right? But I'm hoping, with years to come, we will be there. But just compete internationally. And number one, like you said, like I get messages, our email spam is like crazy with
give me money. I want to go on vacation.
Just recently, the other day, I had four athletes reach out to me for sponsorship, and I love your brand, and I would love to represent it. And then I always scope, like I always look into the athlete, and if I can't see inside their profile, I ask to follow them. And then if you're not wearing, it doesn't matter if it's Kings or a different brand, if you're asking someone to sponsor you, it'd be nice to see that you're wearing their brand first.
Yeah, you're supporting the brand at least at some point, right?
Like, so these 4 people that inquired it, I went on their profile, and not even a t-shirt.
Yeah.
You clearly don't like the brand that much.
Can you sponsor me? I'm gonna wear a Hyperfly. Oh wait, never mind.
Yeah, you know, like, but there's areas there like that you want to do. Like competing internationally is huge. Having a lot of followers is also key. And you morally like respectful. We don't want, you know, guys that are high strung, shooting off their mouth, bad talking other people. We don't want people representing our brand that way either. And then there's other small little things like that we can get into, I guess.
Sure, we can get into those. We got plenty of time. Now, I want you to imagine this sponsorship. So when you think the top names that King sponsors, there's Buchecha, there's Leandro Lo.
We were talking about sponsoring him, but it's just it wasn't feasible at that time, anyways. But we do have Leandro Lo.
Leandro Lo?
Yeah, we have Leandro Lo, Fionn Davies, Katrina. There's a bunch of them, right?
I want you to add in that tier 5, Aaron Gall. That's the next future of the sport that we need to add. The man that has a huge following. He's wearing a Hobson Mora hat, not even a King's hat. Way to go, Aaron!
I don't have anything.
Like I'm trying to talk you up for a sponsorship.
Trust me, I'm on a budget right now. I can't even buy anything.
There you go.
I have several Kings.
Hold on a second. I will say this: like since Mike and I started our club up at our place, basically everybody has purchased a King's gi. Like everybody, they do not purchase. Only one guy bought a tatami gi, and we're like, "What the fuck, man? You're totally ruining this."
He's not allowing the photos.
No, we don't. We kick him out.
But it's funny because I think when he bought that tatami and then he shrunk it, and now like the sleeves like are kind of like this, so now it doesn't even fit properly. But I will say, and I'm not just saying this to suck up to you, King's was probably the first gi that I've owned that actually fit me properly. Like I've had a Corral before, and I feel like okay, like the sleeves they fit me perfect, but then like I would feel like I'm swimming in the top because it's cut so long that I'd have to be another like 40, 50 pounds to like fill it out. And then there'd be other gis. What was another one I had? There was a Keiko back in the day where I had that where that actually fit my torso properly. But then once again, like the sleeves were up to like my elbow once that thing got shrunk. I think it's actually a good topic to discuss. Like, what are some things, I think we'll just throw it out to everybody. What are some things that you guys look for in a gi?
Oh, man, Bruno spent a lot of time in development in the gis. Like,
he has, yeah.
Like, he's very key on all of that. The type of material, everything's already, for the most part, pre-shrunk. So it will shrink a little bit unless you get into the ballisticos and stuff like that, which I don't say 100%. I never do, but I'll say 99% pre-shrunk.
That's a slick gi. That's my favorite one right now that I've had.
The ballistical, the ultralight. The ultralight, like the ballistical, is just a lighter version of it. But same thing. It's virtually already shrunk. It's 99%. I'll never say 100%. Yeah. But just the quality of the material, all of that stuff.
So when you look at like some of these newer gis, I know, and I don't want to cross compare because like they put a lot of other stuff in it, and I know sometimes they make gis that are like not even like legal for competitions, right? So I think Hyperfly has like the Judo Fly, I think is what it's called, it's like the Keenan brand.
Come up with that or something like that?
Yeah, I think it's more of a newer one, right? But again, you can't wear it at competitions. It's more only for like pro shows or like just training. So like, what's your opinion on that? Is it more kind of like they're just trying to market something that the company's going to buy, or is it kind of like there's an actual plan to get these things pro? Or
I don't think they'll ever be legal internationally, anyways, through the IBJJF. We do have just a couple of gis that you can't wear at IBJJF. I think it's just that fancy gi where, you know, like we have the Sovereign, we have the White Knight, Black Knight, which are not IBJJF legal because of the liner. The color gis, we have gray gis, we have green gis. We don't generally carry a lot of them, and we might do like
Like a limited release of like those.
We'll do a slight launch just to give people that option. But we always state, like it's stated, it's not IBJJF legal. And for the most part, we try to do everything IBJJF legal. We follow their guidelines for all our gis when we're producing them. I think it's just more of a showcase, like just so you have that option. If you're a guy that really likes military green because you're a hunter and what have you, you're gonna want to get that gi to train in. I mean, my advice though, like for me, the gi that I compete in now is the ultralight. I competed in the comp for a long time. Probably competed in the comp 450 for probably 3 years before I changed to the ballistical. But then I fell in love with this new ultralight. My advice as like being a competitor, I would say, if you find the gi that you love competing in, stick with it, but buy yourself another one. So train with that gi, but don't train with the gi you're competing with, so it lasts longer. Just once in a while, with it to wear it in, but have that second gi of the same competition gi. Especially like if you feel good in that gi and the results are good, buy another gi.
It's my lucky gi, bro. I gotta wear it.
yeah. You know what I mean?
I know what you're talking about because I have a white Kings one that I have that I've pretty much worn exclusively for competitions probably for the last couple of years. All 2 times that I've competed in the last like 7 years.
Yeah. Well, that's I had my original gi, my Kings gi, the very first Kings gi I got, and we're going about 7 years now because I've been 8. So 7 years ago, Tony Isaacs gave me this gi, the ripstop, which is illegal. We don't even make them anymore. I still have that gi, and it's in pristine condition. I still wear it once in a while because I love the feeling of it. It's very similar to the ultralight, and but it goes to show you the quality, though.
So when you look at like weave, especially on the coat, right? So obviously this is like the standard like 450 whatever weave that you have, but then you look at other companies like Origin, where they have like their dragon weave, I guess is what it's called or whatever. It's a very thin base. Well, the material is very strong, but it's not coarse at all. Yeah. Like when you see stuff like that, is that kind of like, okay, this is the next step, or is this just another way that people are just producing stuff?
I would say more just another. Let's say it's not the next step, but like we have a gi, the Sport. It's probably, if not the lightest gi out there, it's super light. But the thing with that, like we tighten the weave, so you'll find like there's a lot of gis out there that are light. You get a hold of it, and you're ripping that sleeve off, or we've tightened the weave, so it's still light, but it's a bit stronger in that sense. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay. Awesome. So especially like, how long has King been around? Like, is it like within the last 10 years?
Yeah, it's been 10 years.
Okay. And so when they kind of look at like, when you compare gis now, when you look at like, I remember the first gi I owned was like an Atama, right? So then it was like Atama, then there was, again, Red Star was another one. Like when you look at like King, where would they rank as far as kind of like quality?
The best, Aaron, the best.
I know. I'm just trying to like.
What do you think he's gonna say?
I know.
I'm not biased, but definitely we're up there at the top with maybe.
I'm not biased, but my logo's in the background. But go on.
I would still say we're definitely 100%, if not the best gi out there right now. We're at the top with the best gis out there right now.
That's all I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I wanted to hear.
I'm always going to say we have the best gis, but, obviously there's other brands out there that, based on ratings too, you know what I mean? Like, then you have other brands that are still developing. They're still trying to understand the product, right?
Okay. So, like, another brand that you also work with is Maeda. So where is that kind of like on the spectrum? Because I know King is like your top tier with like Maeda underneath, or is that kind of how it works?
So King's is basically our top. We push that one a lot because that's the one we push the most. That's the one we want there out the most. Maeda is just underneath it. So the Maeda cut's a little bit different though. The Maeda cut is more based on a traditional Japanese cut.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that actually.
Like slim, yeah. So Maeda is more on the Japanese. Now the new Maeda series, which is the B series, which we started a year ago, that's more traditional cut to the Brazilian Jiu Jitsu side of Jiu Jitsu. More like, not to say like the Kings, but it's within that range as far as the cut goes. Very, very similar. So we're not getting rid of the traditional Maeda. We're going to keep that, but we've also introduced the new B series, basically, is what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have a red label one. It's not a bad gi. I like it. It's a nice, simple one where it's light. You just wear it once in a while.
And the price point too, right?
Yeah. No, I thought it was just a good gi, kind of like an extra training gi that I needed at the time. So, no, it's a good gi. I don't mind it. It's not something I would take to a competition. They'll tear the sleeves right off of that thing. They're very loose.
It's a wider cut for sure.
Yeah.
There's a lot of material to play with it. So, well, that's the beauty of the Maeda. Like, if you're a more husky, bulky guy, I probably wouldn't direct you to Kings. And then we do have the sizes for Kings for huskier guys too in the broad shoulders, which is the H series, right? So you have like your A2, A2H, and AL for long, right? But Maeda is more a wide cut. So I probably, if you're having difficulties getting into a Kings as much as you want to have the Kings and it's just your shoulders are too broad because you're husky and bulky, I would steer you towards the Maeda.
I think after quarantine, I think we're going to need more huskier gis. What do you think, Aaron?
Probably. I'll probably go with the H series. Yeah, that's very possible. So kind of shifting gears here, because obviously everybody's kind of like not getting any training in as much as they'd like to. Obviously, Canada's doing really well. We're really starting to flatten that curve, as they call it. Hopefully, we're opening up very soon. But then you look at places like California, other spots that were critical and saying, I'm not going to mention a name, but they're critical. You got to shut down. You got to shut down. And then all of a sudden they've opened up, but numbers are spiking and they got full training going on. When you see that kind of stuff,
I'm not going to mention any names, but
not mentioning names, but
yeah, there's a lot of that going on, a lot, especially on our neighbors.
Yeah. Let's talk about that, because, you're a business owner, your business is obviously being affected by this. And, on a personal end, yeah, you want to train, but like, what is your take on what's going on right now?
Man, it's
loaded question.
In the beginning, I truly believe that they really didn't know what the hell they were doing. Like, the government had no clue to what this really was.
Yeah, I think so too, because just because who's been through a pandemic? Like, it happens like the last major one was 1918 that hit North America. So like, more than likely no one's been alive unless they're like 120 now. Nobody's really experienced this, so I don't even think the government even knows what to do sometimes. But yeah, sorry, go on.
No, but pretty much, you're true. It's true. I think we did good. I think we could have done better, only because where it was, we had the opportunity to stop it before it even got here. If not, maintain a very minimal part of this, right? Even now, like, okay, yeah, we're the second largest country in the world, but our population is small and we're so spread out that we should be able to knock this out of the park. I mean, California alone is Canada population.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're so condensed. So yeah, it's going to be more difficult for our neighbors to get a hold of it compared to us. Like, I personally think we shouldn't be in the stage that we are. We should be better. We're still better than most countries as far as the numbers go. What have you? I think we should have been better. I just don't think we.
You don't think we're proactive enough? I think.
Yeah, I think so.
I kind of think that too, because I remember when I was coming back from vacation and all this was happening, I was going through the airport and it was just like a regular day. We came back. It was like Monday night. I'm reading texts and calls and everything, like the world is ending. And then it's just like going through the airport, just like you just arrived back from like Portugal, you're competing at Euros. It was basically exact same feeling, like no screening. There was like one question that's, hey, you know, so you have to self-isolate for 14 days. Click yes, click. I could have just, you know, went out. I could have went to downtown Toronto, partied.
Yeah, there was no restrictions to it.
Coughed on everybody, like, I don't know.
The government should have been more on top of that. Follow-ups with who's coming into country. You know what I mean? Okay, then have checkups with them. Have they been actually quarantining themselves, regardless if they're sick or not? Because you could be a carrier, right? Those 14 days are going to give us a chance to find that out, type of thing, right? When we never really did that.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, it's so new that, you know, and everybody can react to it differently. Some people are just like, you know, I'm sick for a couple of days, I don't feel well, and then I'm fine. And other people are hospitalized. So, like, you don't know where you're going to land in between. Yeah.
They were saying it's more the older people now, but now you're seeing 20-year-olds getting sick. You know, going through the same thing, right? So, at this point now, I think we just have to be more cautious. And if we all just get on board and everybody does exactly what we're supposed to do, we can get rid of this. You know what I mean? Look how many other countries have already done it that have zero cases. You know what I mean? And keeping it that way. We've got to get on board as Canadians all together. Just unite as one. Just follow the rules, man. You know what I mean? You think I want to wear a mask in my own shop when it's just me and my wife, but I do, because the moment I open that door and the ministry decides to walk in and I'm not wearing a mask, I'm going to get a fine. I don't want to wear it, but I'm going to, just so we can get this done with, right?
Yeah.
Jeff Santos for PM. This message is brought to you by Jeff Santos.
I think it comes down to it's not, and I don't want to call it compliance. I think it's just about working together really to do it, right? I was going to tell you before, I had a funny story, because one of my buddies, he had to go down to Nevada for a house reason. It doesn't matter, right? But anyway, he was able to get over the border into the U.S. and they go, hey, you need to quarantine for 14 days. And they're like, well, wait a second, I'm coming from Canada, I don't need to quarantine. He's like, no, the state of Nevada, you need to quarantine for 14 days. So he's like, oh, shit, I didn't realize I had to do that. I wasn't planning on being here for 14 days. So long story short, stays there for 2 days, then goes, okay, I'm going to go back to Canada, I'll quarantine. Gets on a plane, flies back to Canada. Canada Customs goes, hey, you didn't quarantine for 14 days. We know, because your nexus at X, you've only been there for 2 days. You need to go back to the U.S. and complete your 14-day quarantine, and then you can come back and do another 14-day quarantine in Canada. Way. So damn straight. So he's like, okay, I guess I'm going back to Nevada for the next month.
Holy shit, eh?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So, I mean, like, well, exactly.
Quarantine
right?
there, quarantine here. What's the point?
Well, and again, like, that's what I go on. It's like, what difference does it make now? I mean, like, you've already been on the plane twice. I mean, you might as well quarantine back here. But I mean, that's what they said. They're like, nope, you're quarantining. That's it. So
now, he was coming back from Vegas. Now, was he quarantining for COVID or syphilis?
I don't know. We're assuming COVID.
Because it is Vegas, and you know what they say: what happens in Vegas
stays there. I get it.
Yeah, but
unless it's gone again,
now with today's technology.
But again, it goes to say, like, them being proactive now, but like, it's too late, right? They didn't do that before, and here we are, right?
And I fear for our neighbors, because I really do. They do not have no control over there. Their structure is so different than ours as far as the governmency goes. Like, the president really has no control over any of that. To all those states.
It's all the states, and you got everybody doing their own thing.
Yeah.
From a bird's eye view, right?
Nobody's on the same page. It's just a complete free for all, basically.
Yeah. It's crazy. I really fear for them, because if they really don't get, pardon my French, their shit together, that place is going to collapse, man. If it keeps on going the way it is.
Yeah, like they unfortunately got banned from the European Union, so they can't travel into Europe. at all. And they're constantly jumping on new list. And again, 60,000 cases yesterday. I don't even know what the numbers are today, right? And some people will argue with me and say, well, that number is inflated. This is that. I'm like, sure, call it whatever you want. But the reality is you guys are in a pickle.
No, 100%. 100%. Yeah, what are they, over 130,000 deaths already?
Yeah,
they're predicting 200 by September. Like, it's crazy.
You just run the numbers and the math. I wanted to ask you as well, like, have you had a chance to talk to Bruno down in San Diego? Because his office is in San Diego. Like, what are his thoughts on this?
I did talk to him. He's doing well. Like, their family, like his family himself are healthy. They're safe. They've been kind of isolating themselves. They did shut down Fighters Market for the most part. They had one staff member there through this pandemic, what you want to call it, just getting out whatever orders do come in, and they slowed down as well. They are now in operation, slowly opening. They do have staff going there, but they're pretty much in the same boat like we are. Our doors are shut, their doors are shut. You know what I mean? If you want to come in, you call in, you make an appointment. Then we open the doors, pick up your package. If it's a wholesale account, same kind of deal. But as far as open to the public, just come in and go, that's not happening right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's basically make an appointment or order online. And
exactly.
I think that's really how I think a lot of businesses that are able to operate, that's how they're going to operate. But fortunately for jiu-jitsu places, you can't order jiu-jitsu to your door with Amazon, and here we are.
Yeah, it's true. But even the schools they're in full operation. I follow a lot of the guys out there, and I'm not going to mention any academies or anything like that or any people I know, but they're like if nothing ever happened, like full on rolling 50 people in the class type of thing. It's like.
So when you see that, like, what thoughts go through your head?
My mind's boggled because I have mixed emotions by it. Like, I've spoken to people from New Zealand, like via message, like to check in, hey, how you guys doing out there? Just to see how it's working out over there, and are they training, and hey, is your family doing well? Most importantly, I've spoken to guys in Italy, Spain, Brazil, Japan, Portugal. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know anyone that has this virus or had this virus out of all those countries. So I got these mixed emotions about it. Like, is this real? Is it not real? Like, we're seeing it on TV, but the news only likes to show you what they want to show you. Mm-hmm. And these days, it seems like the news just wants to scare people. They're constantly talking about negative stuff. How about the positive stuff, man? Like, you should blend it. Talk about the negative and with the positive. So people go home or people go to sleep with more positive energy and less worriness versus going to bed with negative energy, worrying, waking up with anxiety because they really don't know what's going to happen tomorrow because of all the bad news they just heard. You know what I mean? We need to know what's going on. We need to know the negative part of it. But I think people need to end their conversation with the positive part of it. Yeah, all this has happened, but this has also happened. Look at all these people that survived. Look at all these businesses that are now open and thriving again. A lot of people died today. This poor guy down the street had to close his shop. Well, that's today's news tonight, guys. I hope you guys had a great news, and we'll see you tomorrow. Man, that's horrible. That's it's wrong. There's just wrong attitude, wrong direction for the news right now, what they're doing. My personal opinion, anyways.
No, I agree as well. That's why I can't watch the news most of the time. It's just... you're only going to hear about the negative of what's going on, and especially I think during this situation, it hasn't exactly helped to keep people calm and relaxed. I mean, like, yes, this is a bad situation, but the world is not ending. Life will go on, and just have to adapt and eventually thrive based on what's going on currently.
For sure, no, 100%.
Yeah, and I think, like you guys said, like, the news is bad, but it also, you have to almost stay off social media sometimes as well, because if you start getting involved in the comments of like people's negative attitude and always complaining every single fucking day about something that's not changing, you're not going anywhere further, right? Like it's just you have to just okay. What's a good thing that happened today? Because I know what one thing that was bad was they started with the you guys new daily cases, right? And we had like a pile up of 3 days or whatever. And the first thing that you see, 500 new cases, right? But it's like, hold on, no. Why don't you say like only 100 today? And but these are spread out over the course of 3 days because these ones hadn't been tallied yet. But they always just throw out the bad number at first, and they don't talk about recoveries. They never talk about recoveries because recoveries is a big thing because you have to look at it like how many people have actually recovered, and it's like okay, because that means that the spectrum's going down. We don't have many active cases anymore.
Yeah.
Before we had, and that's the big thing. How many active cases are there in Ontario or whatever? And I think we're close to almost 1,000 all over Ontario, which is amazing.
No, we're doing extremely well. You know what I mean? Like that's 100%. And I think that has to do with all of us. You're always going to have that few group of people that just don't give a shit about anybody and do whatever they want to do and not follow the directions that, our government's telling us to do. But overall, we're doing pretty good. For the most part, people are following it because they care. You know what I mean? And you have to, because the faster we get this shit done with, the faster we can go back to normal reality.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing with the news, like you're saying, if they just that key word, you saying we only, that's the key word, only, is more positive. Even though the number's high, we only had 500. But by putting that word, it's still positive. Because you're basically telling me, don't worry about it. It's only 500. I mean, it could have been 1,000. It could have been 200,000. It could have been 50,000 like the guys next door. We only had 500, right? They just use key words.
So, especially like when you look at yourself, like what's kind of like the next step for you, whether or yourself, or whether it being for fire market, especially like once we get back to normal, like you said, like what do you think like the next steps are?
So I haven't written off 2020, but I kind of have, like for the most part, like all the tournaments are done.
Just put it in the garbage. Let's move on.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have written off 2020. Honestly,
I'm back in 2019.
Yeah. So
those were the days.
Oh man. But yeah, like I had some ideas that I wanted to do, upcoming towards the events that we're going to have here in Ontario. Obviously, that's off the plates. But there's definitely some directions I want to go. My goal has always been, like, basically, I want to show the rest of the world that Canada's here. We exist as jiu-jitsu practitioners. We have a lot of athletes that are just not recognized, right? And it's understandable. Like a lot of us don't travel internationally to compete, so we don't get recognized. And I would love to see a format of like fight to win type of thing here in Canada.
Like a pro card?
Yeah. Like I know a couple of guys do that, you know what I mean? Like Rory does the Parabellum type of thing. Tony likes to do the sub-only event. But I'd love to see, oh, there goes my Jets. And he saw something he didn't like. I'd like to see something like to win in Canada. I have been speaking with 2 individuals in regards to maybe doing something like that quarterly, like every 3 months. We do a card like what Fight to Win does, have it on a live feed so people can see it as well, type of thing. So we'll see if we're able to do that in 2021. For the next year. And there's other things I want to do, like through this pandemic I've been doing raffles, like giveaways, like just to give back to the community for their support, by buying something, raffled like rash guards tees through Maeda, through Kings Now. In June we did Choke Republic. I want to do other stuff that I have ideas that I want to do as well to give back to the community at the same time for their support through this time. But I'm looking forward to 2021. There's a lot of things that I have on my plate that I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to do for the community. You know what I mean? I do a lot of things outside, like that people don't know, like as far as like I'd say charity, but we do try and support programs as best as we can. But fortunately, we weren't able to do the one with Matt with the police department. They usually do for the citizens. We'd like to be a big part of that, being myself, I spent a lot of years in sick kids in regards, so I definitely like to help that. I want to do something for the ladies for breast cancer month in October. It all depends now on how this pandemic turns out. So hopefully in October we have some form of normal training again, and we can do something like that. But I'm looking to reach out to Cancer Society on that as well. Maybe produce just a special edition gi, and then do the proceeds to the Breast Cancer Society and stuff like that. But those are things that I want to do, like that I normally don't talk about. You know what I mean? Like just something that we want to do, just give back to our community, not just the jiu-jitsu community, but just our community in general. Right.
Nice. If you do any of those designs or anything, let us know. And we'll put it up and we'll pump it up for you.
Yeah, sounds good. Awesome.
So, like you said, you were talking about like making a custom gi and all that. Like, how does that kind of work? Like, do you guys just come up with the design, or like, do you guys have a manufacturing plant here, or do you send it back to San Diego, or like, how does it work?
So for example, like the Canada gis, for example, right? So I'm the one designing the Canada gi, and I generally use the gi that we are already producing. So I use the Nano this year. Last year I used the Com 450, and then I just kind of tweak it up, make sure that has that bright Canadian red, right? And then to it. There is something I want to do, which I'm not going to talk about it now because it's already passed, so we'll have to wait until next year. But I'm excited.
Okay, no worries.
But if we're doing like fully custom for schools, myself and my wife Ann, we actually do a lot of their custom designing. So they'll send us their logo, and then we'll kind of design something for them. And then we have San Diego helps us a lot with their graphics and stuff. So we do a lot of the graphic designing and artwork there. Like we give them our ideas, they put it all together, they combine some of their ideas with ours. We come up with something, then we send it to the academy. And usually it's a go, right? They love the design. Like we just did one for SPG, all ranking rash guards and spats and stuff like that. We did 5-0 for Matt and the police force.
Yeah.
So some custom rash guards and shorts for them too. So yeah, they just, for the most part, give us your logo, and we'll put something together. Well, we always talk about like, what are your themes? What do you guys really look at when you're doing something like that? And then we just put something together for you guys. And if you guys like it, great. If not, we can tweak it, right? It just, you have something so you have something to look at, and then we can work with it.
We gotcha. We'll have to send you our logo, see what you can come up with.
Cool. Look forward to it.
So, Jeff, we usually ask before we end, do you have any sponsors to thank?
Oh man, I thank them all. Right? Like, thank them for always, mentioning us. We have, not to say we have a lot, but in Canada we do quite a bit. Like I try to do as best as possible, and I always look at the finance part of it, right? If I just sponsor the world, then we won't be here either. But we have amazing athletes, and there's more amazing athletes out there that I would love to put on our list and get them sponsored. At this time we just can't. So and we have cleaned up a little bit too. Some are not back on board with us anymore, and it just has to do with finances too, right? It has nothing to do with their activity or their performance. Is just financially right now everybody's making cuts. It's not just us, in general, everybody's making cuts, right? But I just want to thank them for the continued support and being there with us, and even through these times, and just thank everybody in general, our jiu-jitsu community, for the support and the kind words, because we have people that are always calling me to make sure we're doing okay, and if there's anything they can do to help us and what have you. So just thank everybody. I love life, man.
Awesome. Love hearing it. Now, Jeff, I want to thank you very much for hopping on. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. I look forward to seeing the growth of fighter market, especially in Canada, and then also doing some more work with you as when we get everything going.
No, for sure.
Which I'm hoping for.
Yeah, if you guys need anything, just give us a shout. And it was an honor for me to be on board with you guys, man. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. We'll come by and roll by the pool soon.
Sounds good, brother. My doors are open.
I like it.
All right, we'll talk soon.
All right. Take care, guys. Thanks, everybody.